An entree leader can only delegate tasks, responsibilities, and concepts to a team member when both are mature. Now, if you're a young leader, meaning you're a beginning leader, not chronological age, but you're a beginning leader, you may not be mature enough in your leadership style to have confidence in yourself yet to release. That's maturity. And if you got a young, not chronologically necessarily, but sometimes chronologically, young go-getter on the team that's immature, they're not ready to be delegated to. The requirement for delegation, one of the requirements is both are mature. The process of building a team to which concepts can be delegated is lengthy but rewarding. It takes time to fill your stable full of thoroughbreds. And you can only delegate to thoroughbreds. You cannot delegate to donkeys. You cannot delegate to beginners. You can't go there. It won't work for you. And you should control that. You should control the quality. You should control the process. You should control the customer experience until you've got thoroughbreds that can do it with you. In order for a leader to completely delegate, they have to come to trust in the team member's integrity and competency. You want to learn how to delegate? Circle that statement and put stars all around it. That's the thesis of this lesson. That's how you delegate. It's how I learned to delegate. And you shouldn't delegate until you've spent enough time with the person to trust their integrity and until they have proven their competency. And the more competency they have proven, the more you can delegate to them, and the more integrity they have proven, the more you can delegate to them. And so you can use all kinds of metaphors to explain this. The one that drives me crazy is when our kids were teenagers, we would go out to dinner with our friends who had kids that were teenagers, and the mom would always say something like, you know, George, he just started driving, and when he left the driveway, I was just terrified. And I'm like, well, why the flip did you let him leave the driveway? Is there something wrong? Have you got an emotional problem, or is he a horrible driver? Which is it? Because at our house, Daniel's not leaving the driveway if I'm terrified. Because if I'm terrified, it's because he freaking can't drive. And so you don't get to leave the driveway until you learn how to drive. So when you go get the learner's permit, I get to ride around the car and stop at stop signs for days. And we get to talk about not eating while you're driving. And every time we pull up behind somebody in the left lane, they're eating or they're talking on their stupid cell phone. And they drive like they're drunk. Son, watch that. They're worse than a drunk. Look at him, the way he's driving. And so let me let you understand this real clear. You see this? It's what I'm going to hit you with. If I catch you talking on the phone while you're driving, I'm going to smack you as hard as I can smack you. You got it, Dad. You know? And he knows I probably wouldn't do it because he's bigger than me at that point. But maybe he didn't know. Maybe I had him bluffed, right? But either way, you know, I'm going to kill you. You don't do that. You stop at stop signs. You don't eat while stop. You know, and try pulling off from there a little bit slower. Hey, try not riding right up on that guy's bumper. If you can read his license plate that well, we got problems. You know, give him a little room because he might not drive like you think he's going to and stop, and then you get to eat his back seat with your grill. And I don't really want to be involved in any of that. Neither do you. And so you have 42,000 of these conversations. Anybody taught a kid to drive? Yeah, it starts in the church parking lot, right? And you're like, oh, God, I'm glad the angels are here to keep him in the car. You know, it's just. And so the first time that Daniel left the driveway, and he touched the brakes and he turned the corner to leave, I was not freaked out. I was like, dude, I'm really glad I don't have to do that anymore. You've now learned how to drive and I don't have to carry you everywhere. That's awesome. And then a few months later, he left the driveway, 2 wheels, and we parked the Jeep for a little while, okay? So there's some check in there, right, y'all? But what is the idea that you just toss somebody to know how to drive the keys and then freak out about it? Why not only let them drive to the extent they have proven they can drive? Why is that hard to grasp? That's delegation. That's all it is. And to the extent I'm going to let you lead a large team is how well you have led a small team. If you're faithful with the little things, I will give you more to manage. Heard that saying? And it's really not any harder than that. Common sense says, don't give people stuff to do and then turn your back and walk away and hope they can do it until you've watched them do it several times. Or they watched you do it for a while, then they did a little bit of it and you did a little of it. And then you stood back and watched them and you course corrected them and you course corrected them and you watched them do it 200 times. And then after you've watched them do it 200 times a year for 10 years, you don't even have to think about them doing it. By then they should actually be teaching the next person, right? And you're delegating only to competence. That right there solves it. Trust and integrity. Trust their integrity, trust their competency, you can release.